Welcome to Wonder and Wildflower, the podcast where we dive into the beautiful chaos of family life. I'm your host, Christine, and today I'm joined again by my part-time co-host, my handsome husband.
Your husband doesn't have a name?
Not important.
Not
I'm just
important.
Xander Alexander.
Not important.
I'm just teasing.
But are you?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay. What are we talking about today?
Feeling unseen, underappreciated, and disenchanted with homemaking.
So it's a long way of saying that we're going to be talking about homemaking.
Yes.
Which is part of like the core of Wonder and Wildflower, right?
Yes. Very much.
Homemaking, homeschooling. We never got to the home church part.
Not yet.
But
could happen.
Mm-hmm. What about it?
Well, I think a lot of women struggle with feeling like, that stereotype that you're stuck to the kitchen, you can't do anything, you're just taking care of your kids, and like that it becomes this mundane, boring thing that I just don't believe it is.
What do you think homemaking is? Like, if you had to define it yourself.
Ooh, that was not part of my assignment. So I would say that homemaking is making, this is going to be silly, but making your house a home, but not just like, doing the dishes and making sure everyone eats, but creating a safe and peaceful place that like your family wants to come to. You want to be home. You want to be in this place and creating like a safe haven kind of.
I think we could kind of run with that a little bit. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
That's the goal.
So what do you think people are going to get out of today?
My hope is that they feel encouraged, and we're going to dive into the wonderful joys of homemaking, and we'll explore different perspectives and ditch guilt and mom guilt and wife guilt and discover how to create a home that's a haven and a safe place.
I think that's a big part, the safe place part.
Yeah.
I think that's taken time to, I wonder for other people. Makes me think like maybe sometimes we should bring like an additional couple on.
That'd be fun.
Because at least for us, I felt like it took a good portion of time to get into the whole safe place part.
For you and I, yes. I don't think so much for the kids, but for you to want to be home, it took me being more intentional and also not like hypersensitive.
Well, it's not just about the kids.
I know, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Just saying, like, I think, yes, for us to figure out our flow definitely took some time.
If the parent or parents, or at least my perspective, it's like if the parent or parents aren't right or in a good headspace, right, then it's hard to create that environment for, at least that would be my thought.
Yes.
Create that environment for children.
I would say that I definitely lean more towards how things affect you than necessarily the kids.
So I looked up the definition of homemaking.
Of course you did.
I did.
You love a definition?
I love definitions because I think it's super important, and I feel as if people don't do it enough of stating what it is that they're talking about, but it's like a ground level of this is the definition of homemaking, and then we could go from there, right? So I think that's one reason as to why I asked you what your definition is. This is what Oxford says.
What does Oxford say?
The Oxford Dictionary says this: the creation and management of a home, especially as a pleasant place in which to live.
Oh, see? It's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
It has more words, but...
There is... Let's see if I can find it. One who manages a household, especially as a spouse and a parent. So you got the managing part, you got making it a pleasant place. What?
Well, that's the definition of homemaker, not homemaking. So that's...
Okay. All right.
But yes, they do go together.
All right.
If we're going to be...
Is it... Isn't it like the same thing? No?
The homemaker is the person. It's a noun and a noun and a verb.
Well, this is for all those homeschooler people who like to get backlash at you and put in negative comments.
I know, but I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm not the teacher, though.
You teach things.
I teach
just not for
Practically, I think.
academics
Yeah,
or basic academics.
yeah. That's you, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I was sitting watching Bennett, listening to Bennett read today,
Hmm.
and he
Stop
was
playing.
flowing.
He is fun. Stop playing with your shoe or you're going to have audio issues.
Am I gonna have audio issues? Or am I gonna have Christine issues?
Both. Probably both.
All right, so back to it. So,
Mhm.
what you want to dive in first about?
I think maybe just the idea that people have of homemaking in their head, like the old fashioned, like woman who never leaves the house. She's just cooking and cleaning and she's not fun or playful or, enjoying life to the fullest
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, I think a lot now, especially in this like culture where, we're told we should go out and be a boss babe and do all the things that the idea of homemaking is just like almost like we're not depressed. What am I thinking of? Like we're just stuck. We're stuck in this. No one really wants to do it. We're just doing it, or like that we're um that's not this beautiful, wonderful thing that it is.
So, I know initially,
Mhm.
and I say initially, if you would have asked me when we first got married, like the thought of homemaking,
Mhm.
I would have automatically went to that 1950s. I don't know why I always go to 1950s.
I don't know. I normally go to the 70s
You
and
go to
think of that.
70s
Yeah.
with it. I don't know. I
With
think
like
the
everything. Like
1950s.
if something was a long time ago, it was the 70s, which I'm aware that like that's not that old and I was born in the 80s and all that. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
where I
I
normally go.
don't know why I go to the 50s, but I always go to the
Maybe
50s.
because of like
But that's the
American.
first thing that comes to mind to me is the 1950s. What was that one book that we both thoroughly enjoy? I think you read it first, Jeff.
Jefferson Bethke,
Yeah, yeah,
Taking
yeah.
Back Your Family.
Yeah, but he's the
The industrial,
nuclear
the,
family or something like
yes,
that.
yes, he does talk about the nuclear family, but the Industrial Revolution changing the nuclear family.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a very good book. Um, yeah, so I think that we need a shift, or that it would help mamas if they shifted that perspective, that it's not like this awful, you know, yes, we are exhausted. Yes, we do a ton of things. Yes, most of it goes unnoticed, and most of it on the day to day is not appreciated. Like just like in anything, you
Yeah.
go to work and do your job. Your boss doesn't appreciate you every day. Like it's not. But to remind ourselves also of like who we're really doing it for. Yes, we're serving our family, but if you're a believer, it's your ministry also. It's you're serving the Lord by serving your family and taking care of them. And
I never really thought about that.
we're so different.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. I like, and obviously, right, I'm a believer in Jesus, and I just never thought about it as, yes, I've thought about it like, oh, your family is your number one ministry,
Hmm.
right? It just like seems like a cliche type of,
Yeah.
but I've never actually given it all, I guess, a whole lot of thought. Well, how do you think that I'm doing in ministry then, if that's the
I
case?
think you're the best dad ever.
Are you saying that only because like we're rolling?
No.
Okay.
Ugh. No, I don't do that. No, I think you're an amazing dad and I think you're an amazing husband, which I have said a million times, and anyone who follows me at all on Instagram would know that I am like super crazy about you. Um, no, I think you're doing a great job, especially in this season where you could be doing a really bad job and we probably
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
preach
how
you
is it
much.
right now?
You are
Like
so good,
put the like the
97%.
pulse.
This is what I say when people ask. So, in case people don't know, you recently lost your job, got laid off, and we have just a week before that paycheck goes away. Um, so it's super stressful for you, right? You're the sole provider of the family.
Yeah.
Um, I there have only been a handful of times where you have seemed to lose your cool or be not overly emotional, that's wrong, extra emotional. Um, But I think you've done a really good job of keeping the kids like, "Hey, this is what's going on. Don't be afraid. Um, and here's what this looks like." And you've still been your kind, sweet, wonderful self.
So I have a thought.
Hmm.
I feel like I shouldn't have these random thoughts that it should just like maybe be, but perhaps we're just like slightly off the script type
Okay.
podcast.
Yes.
So with the everything that is going on,
Hmm.
and we talked about this in a previous episode as far as like the temperature thermostat of the home, the tone, and all of that. How do you think, like a grading, you give me an honest grade
Okay.
as to how we're doing living that out in this?
In this season.
Because yeah, because that's also a part of
So like I'm doing like a
homemaking,
family
right?
grade.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Or let's do a family grade, and then let's do a personal, like personal as in meet your
Okay.
grading me.
Okay. So you found out in March that you would be losing your job in June. Um, I would say over that time period, I would give you a 95.
Wow, that's pretty high,
Yeah, I have been very impressed because we've been through this before,
right?
and you were not a 95. Um, you're like a 50 or a 30. Um,
I mean, 30's failing. Is 50 failing?
I don't I don't know how people grade this anymore. I think when we were in school, I think when we were in school, 50 was
We're in a D? Like 55 is a
no,
D?
55 might have been a D. I really don't remember. I know like 75. No, I think it was an F because like I think like 75 to 60 was a D.
No, that was a C. No?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Oh
know.
man.
And I don't grade our kids this way, so
Yeah.
I can't help you here.
What were the grades? What grades did you guys get?
I got A's and B's or else I was in trouble.
Well, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the world,
Oh, well, I'm
or the
telling
five people that listen.
I'm telling the world I got A's and B's or else I was in trouble. um, yeah, no, you've been amazing. And I guess there's been a few moments like the other day when the garage door broke and you did scare our children half to death with your expressions. Um,
I feel like there was only one expression.
I know, and then you saw the snake, and that made it all better. Um, but no, you've been great. I feel like you have done a good job of grounding yourself in worshiping, and they're seeing that like Dad's not yelling and screaming; he's sitting down at the piano and worshiping. And you've been intentional, and you've spent time with us, and you know, I think it's been honestly, it hasn't been a bad time.
Would But I think all those things contribute back to the subject of homemaking
Yes.
and having that safe space.
Mhm.
It contributes, right? And I personally believe a lot of that safe space goes to the credit of you.
Mhm. I
I think
appreciate that.
I contribute to it, right?
Yes.
But I
Yes.
think at least in our house, not
Mhm.
saying that it's like that in everybody else's house,
Mhm.
right? Because other people's houses are different.
Yes.
But at least for us, you lead with the setting of a safe space, which matters extremely as you have friends and people that we know that are don't feel as safe, quote
Mhm.
unquote, at home. Like not like fearful for their life, but
Right.
being
But
able to
emotionally
yeah,
safe.
be
Yeah.
able to share and things of that nature.
Well, and not even just safe, but a place of peace. So even when you're fully employed and living your best
Yeah.
life, I mean, I try to make sure that the house looks a way that is conducive to both your and my peace, but also the kids' peace. And, clutter and mess and all that doesn't, now there are days where this place looks like a whole tornado went through. But for the most part, I like to try to keep the house clean and, you know, keep healthy food in the house and do all the things that lead to peace and calm, which I think those things then lead to the safe feeling of I can just be.
So could you share,
Mhm.
maybe take a pause and think how, not how, in what ways, not necessarily steps, but in what ways helped you create a safe haven, a safe space?
For our family.
Yeah.
So, in what ways? Like, what do I do? Like,
Yeah,
what's my
yeah.
thought process? Like, how do
Yep.
I get there?
Like
Okay.
what were some of the ways, right? So
Hmm.
where we're at now, looking in retrospect over, let's say Jay's 10, right? Over
Hmm.
the retrospect of the last 11 years,
Hmm.
what things that you think that you have done to create that?
Okay.
Maybe intentionally done, maybe you unintentionally
Hmm.
did things, but was there anything intentionally that you did to with the focus of I want to create a safe space for my family?
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes to all that.
um, the first thing I did was changed my mindset. So I think prior to Gary sharing with me the whole wildflower existence, um, there were a lot of times where I was like, nobody appreciates me. I'm exhausted. You traveled all the time. Um, we had Bennett, but he was an itty bitty baby. Um, so shifting my mindset to it really doesn't matter if you notice or if you appreciate or if the kids notice or if they appreciate. This is
Mm.
what I feel called to do. I have always, my whole life, came out of the womb, I'm going to be a wife and a mom. That is all I've ever wanted to do. There was a brief time where I wanted to be a marine biologist in fifth grade. And when Elwood's Legally Blonde came out, I did think about being a lawyer. But other than that,
I think you would have killed it as a
I would
lawyer.
have killed it as a lawyer.
Man,
Um,
that has no follow up to it.
but I think that changing my mindset that this isn't about you, this isn't about them, this is about how I serve Jesus.
Yeah.
That changing that mindset really helped me feel like, well, it doesn't really matter. And I mean, yeah, there are days where I'm like, well, they're rude and I don't want to make them dinner. But overall, I feel like it helps me do the things I don't like. I hate doing dishes. I don't want to do dishes. Dishes.
Everybody hates doing this. So
Right.
I'm trying to offload it to the kids.
Yeah. So, you don't like I don't like doing dishes. I really don't like doing like I don't like housework at all. Like ask my mother, you should have seen my room as a teenager. Like I'm not
It wasn't just as a teenager though.
okay.
How old were you when we got married?
20.
24?
Yes.
Oh man, I remember moving you out. What
Anyway.
I used to think homemaking was, and saw that room, was like, nah, man. There ain't
I
no
know, I
way.
think my mom still has a hard time believing like I keep a clean house because I did not. So it's not something that was like in me to be super neat or to be, have a clean house. But now that I'm like a mom and a wife and a homeowner, like if I don't want to go to bed with the kitchen a mess.
I don't remember last thing you said.
So changing my mindset to this isn't about you, me, or the kids. It's about serving the Lord. The other thing is just being learning to love it, like learning to just love taking care of you guys. I've always been nurturing, but like to know that, especially since there was a time where home did not feel peaceful and safe for you in our marriage, um, taking that like this is so important and I really like I want to do this. Um so just being super intentional. It's not something that I think comes natural to most people because it is
And
like
you were selfish by default.
right. Um so yeah, those are the two top things I would say.
So, as it relates to homemaking,
Hmm.
the what would you say? And I think you described it a little bit
Hmm.
as to what the wonder and wildflower approach is.
So I don't want to think of homemaking as just like chores, but also nurturing our kids, creating like a safe
That was
space.
the chair. I promise. It was the chair. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
um, Creating a safe place, but not just like physically, but like being intentional with like how I treat the kids and how I talk to the kids, like being life giving. Um, Also like making sure that we have a community and I'm surrounded by other women who love and adore their families and want to serve their families and take care of their families.
What about the ones that don't feel the same way?
I don't really know a lot of them. I think that like yes, I know women who, it's not their jam or whatever and that's
Yeah,
fine. But I think in my closest circle, like that's not I don't know anyone like in my circle like that. I think it's so important to surround yourself with like-minded people and yeah, I have
but
friends that
shouldn't you also maybe pull it? Maybe it wouldn't be the entire group, but like one or two that are not the don't feel that same way, right?
So feel that same way about what? Like about
About family and like just the that same as you were just saying
Mhm.
as you're surrounded. So basically you're surrounded by a lot of people who have that same thought process as you,
Mhm.
right? But is that like I don't always see that as a good thing.
Um,
I feel like
so
there has to be some, for the lack of a better term,
mhm.
some oddballs that are in there,
Oh,
right?
I have
That you're
plenty of
like,
oddballs in my life. Yeah, I would say so. I would kind of disagree that like my closest circle, like I'm in a group chat with, and it's called my go-to crew, and I
okay,
want to say there's 6 of us. We all love the Lord. We all love our families. We all love being wives. We all love being mothers. Some of us work, some of us don't. Some of us homeschool, some of us don't. So there are differences. But those core things, like those are the people I'm sharing
okay,
my
yeah, yeah.
deepest things with. Now I have other friends who are workaholics who would rather send their kids off for days at a time. I know, I have friends that do all sorts of different things. But as far as like my go-to and the people that I surround myself with the
Yeah.
kids with the most. Also, people who are like, New York City style businesswomen probably don't get that much from hanging out with me. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably not their cup of tea either. Um, but yes, I think having a bunch of different pots and a bunch of different lids is okay. But I just think if you're closest, because when your marriage is struggling, your kids are struggling, like you don't need someone who doesn't think like you all the time. Like, yeah, you can take a little bit here and there, but I think it's important to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Do you think that dads can also be homemakers?
Yes, sure. With us, that's not really a thing
Okay.
because we're very old school, traditional. You're the provider. I'm the homemaker. Um, And so I do all the home stuff, but I don't think homemaking is just, I think you're a part of it because you're here and because your dad and your husband. So I think loving me well, loving them well, playing the game with them, like all of those things all ties into homemaking, maybe
Hmm.
not the traditional definition of it, but when it comes to making that safe space and that place of peace, those things do play a role. So yes, I think the dads do play
So
a
I
role in it.
think because I did not do this, I gave you the definition of what the Oxford
Mhm.
Dictionary said,
Mhm.
what Merriam-Webster said.
Mhm.
Well, I gave you the homemaker version of that from the Webster, but I did not give you my definition of it.
Okay.
And so I didn't level set. See, this is why we need definitions.
Because you're
You
getting
got to
level
define
set.
things because you
Okay.
got to level set. So my definition, and I don't think how we kind of have it on your website is how I feel about it. That all these things that it encompasses,
Mhm.
right? So I believe that it encompasses the financial
Mhm.
aspect, right? And how our kids, but I guess you don't even have to have kids to be a homemaker or homemaking, right?
Right.
But I think that financially,
Mhm.
that falls under that umbrella as well. I believe that, real estate state of mind. I feel
Mhm.
like that also falls into it. The passing on business principles and whatnot to our kids, that falls into it. Would you disagree?
Maybe not disagree. I think that's like parenting. So is
But
parenting part of
what
homemaking?
if there isn't? Well, so what if there's no children? You can still be a homemaker or homemaking if there isn't children in the home, right?
Yeah. I guess just thinking of the traditional like definition of the person who makes the home. But I do think like I couldn't do what I do if you didn't do what you do. Like I couldn't stay home and
Hmm.
be a homeschooling, mom. Well, I could. It would just be really different and difficult. If you didn't, go to work. So yeah, I mean, I do think all those things play a part. Sure, I can get behind that.
You don't sound convinced.
It's a new thought for me. I'm gonna have to.
Is it though? I feel like that we talked about it before.
That this is like.
And if we go to your website, it's
Mhm.
literally at the is at the bottom, but it's there. And what I mean by is there, it's hold on.
Well, homemaking, homeschool.
Let me pull it up for you.
Okay, I
Oh man, you don't even know what goes on your website.
do know what goes on the website.
So
I cannot read that though.
You have parenting,
Hmm.
relationships, faith, real estate, education, and more.
Yeah, that's like Wonder and Wildflower.
But you don't think that that goes with home under the umbrella of homemaking? And
I think you could make the argument that anything that affects your home goes under the umbrella.
now we're getting somewhere.
But I think in the traditional sense of homemaking, I think most people would agree it is the care of the home. Whether you're a working mom, a single mom, a homeschool mom, a dad, a single dad.
But the people, the relationships,
Hmm.
all those things
It all
make
ties
up the
in.
home.
That's true.
That's
That is
true.
true.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. I didn't think
I
that
mean,
that
I
was kind of
honestly
a new
hadn't.
thought for you.
Well, I hadn't really thought about it until you just asked me a question.
I know, but I felt like maybe we did. Maybe I had this conversation with myself, with you
There's a
in my head.
good chance that that happened. But yeah, I mean, of course, I think anything that affects your home can be part of the homemaking, but in a more simple, minimized sense.
Mm. Am I simple?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am definitely the more simple of the two of us.
This is true.
This is true.
This is true. Anything else as far as like the how to be a good homemaker?
Um,
I say anything. I think that was a question I had in my head, but
mhm.
I didn't actually ask it. That's me having a
So
conversation with you in my head that
you
didn't
should
actually happen
probably
verbally.
work on that. So what was the question?
The question was how to be a good homemaker. Like, are there anything that you would recommend that helped you be a good homemaker, or um, what is a good homemaker?
Mhm.
Right? I feel like we defined that a little bit, but
I think it looks different for every family. Like I think in our family it looks one way. Um,
so there's no one set way of
no, I
being.
don't think there is because there's no one set way of doing family. Like for us,
Yeah.
me being home, homeschooling the kids, that is perfect for us. It makes perfect sense for us. I have the first family that comes to mind is the family that I nannied for, who are good friends of mine now. They both work. Dad's a teacher, mom's in IT. The kids are amazing. They are the most amazing family in the world, but their family looks so different from us. But I adore the way that they parent. I think they're amazing parents and I think they're amazing homemakers. Probably a set of parents that I look up to the most, but we do life very differently. So
Hmm.
I don't think it is a one size fits all or this is the only right way to do it. I think the only things that I would say, and I guess this also only counts if you're a believer, is that once you stop doing it for the appreciation of your family and because that's what you ought to do, but if you're doing it because you truly believe that the Lord has called you into it, then it is going to be so much better and so much easier and more joyful. It won't feel like work. Like, yes, I hate doing the dishes, but I love waking up to a clean kitchen. I love the kids coming out and them being ready to start their day because it's not chaos. um and it did take me a little while to get there. I'll say, like, listen to podcasts and books to talk about homemaking. One book I absolutely love is The Life Giving Home by my Sally Clarkson. Um,
You're Sally
my
Clarkson.
Sally
Not
Clarkson.
everybody Sally.
My Sally Clarkson. Whom I love and adore, but she has so much changed my thought processes on parenting. But being a life giving parent, having a life giving home, those are two books: Life Giving Parent, Life Giving Home. They're beautiful books. Even The Call of the Wild and Free, which I think so often gets pushed into the homeschool category because Ainsley homeschools and everything. And it is big in the homeschool category, but also how to live your life that's so in a way
Mm.
that serves your family. Um, and even The Wild and Free Family, also by Ainsley, is a wonderful book that,
There's an actual book called Wild and Free Family.
yes,
Oh, I didn't know that.
it's wonderful.
I haven't kept. I like no.
Um, and even like Sally has a podcast, Life with Sally, like where she just talks about the most normal of things, but sometimes it's just those things that you need the reminder of, like, hey, this has nothing to do with me. Like, I have to get, and find the joy in all the little things and, you know, be happy that there's little socks on the floor because that means you have little babies around and, be thankful that there's dishes to clean up because you had food to put on the table, you know?
One thing I want to go back to real quick because I thought that it was maybe not profound, maybe profound is too much, but maybe it was profound. The fact of, on top of your mom, that another family that you look up to and
Mhm.
think are a great set of parents is that a family that is opposite dynamic, not maybe not total opposite
Mhm.
dynamics, right? But their family looks different than ours.
Yeah.
I think that's I feel like that says I'm not sure what it says, but I feel like it says something. I think is worth calling out
Well,
and
yeah.
just mentioning again.
Well, and because I think so often people think like, oh, well, if you're a homeschooler, then you think that this is the only way to do it, and blah blah blah. Or if you're a stay-at-home mom, this is the only way to do it. And I think you have to find what works best for your family, and also being intentional parents. Like, I think that's what I adore about them so much, is that they're so intentional, they're so involved, and they keep up with they work and everything, but that doesn't seem to affect the amount of time and effort they put into their kids and they put into parenting. And I think that, like, the best parent, great parents. And my mom and dad looked a lot like, my dad went to work, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my mom, of course, has shaped who I am in almost
Oh
every
yeah, I mean,
single
yeah,
way.
you are
I am
turning
my
into your
mother.
mom.
I am my mother.
You're like,
Um,
man, there was some differences, but now like you guys are starting to blend.
because she's wonderful. So yeah, I think being open to the idea that yes, this is going to look different for everybody, but the mindset. I think the mindset is the biggest thing. If you can change that, then you can,
Hmm.
from doom and gloom and routine and mundane to blah.
Is there any other tips, tricks,
Mm,
hacks,
ooh.
life hacks? Life hacks is a big word that like usually catches people's attention.
Yeah. One of my favorite life hacks, and I will say it doesn't happen all the time, but clean your kitchen before you go to bed. I hate waking up to a messy kitchen. And there are times where I will clean it at 11:30. I cleaned it
I know
up.
you will.
Yeah, because I can't. I was mopping the floors at 11 o'clock the other day.
I know you were.
Because it gives you just like a fresh start. You get to wake up and everything's pretty and clean, and then you get to destroy it while you make 15 breakfasts for your homeschool kids. But it just is a good clean slate to walk out and start your day. Um, and I think finding a schedule that works for you, like a routine, not a schedule, a routine that works well for you.
Hmm.
Like, I used to try like really hard to get up before the kids. Our kids can feel that I have risen from down the hall, and they wake up and then I'm tired and they're awake. So just finding something like, yeah, there's all these like things out there like, oh, you should get up at 5 a.m. and you should do X, Y, and Z. Find what works for you, and maybe like the comparison game that we all get stuck into because we're all on Instagram and Pinterest and we're seeing all these other families that are like rocking it. And we're like,
Seem like they're rocking it.
they just seem like they're right.
It
We're
seemed
not.
like
Like, no one is.
we're going to
Um,
talk about how you don't rock it.
yeah.
Not
So
you, but how we don't rock it, and just be
yeah, like most mornings I'm
vulnerable and transparent with that.
maybe up an hour before the kids. Sometimes I'm up with the kids. It's just depends on, what works best for your family. But the comparison game, stop that and clean your kitchen before you go to bed. I think those are my two.
As a disclosure, I tell her very, very often when she is up doing that nonsense, why are you doing that at this
Because
time?
it had nothing to do with you. There was a time where in my head I thought you wanted me to do all these things,
Even though
and
I never said those
even though you
things to
never
you.
said them,
So
it
you
was
had that
just
you
it
had one
was
of those moments that I have frequently of
a fake
thinking I'm
conversation.
having a conversation with you.
Yeah. And so it really has nothing to do with you. Cleaning I like the living area clean. Cleaning those areas before I go to bed is for me. It is for me. And it's something I want to do, but it's for me for when I wake up in the morning and I'm not doing dishes when I'm exhausted. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. And also our kids like to sleep in and the dishes are loud.
Mm.
Just makes sense for us.
Anything else?
Not that I think of.
I think we have some segments that we could go to. We listen to this back. I feel like we could double click into one or two.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm ready to double click with you, honey.
How double triple click?
Okay.
Triple click it? No. You know how you hit the because like it's not doing what you want, and you continue to hit the mouse or the
no, I don't
trackpad.
do that because it drives me crazy.
You don't do that?
No, and I tell the kids when they do that that they're just making it take longer and knock it off.
That's true. I mean, the memory and all that has to catch up.
I don't know any of those words, but yeah. No, I don't. I don't do that. I don't do that.
Maybe not anymore. Yeah, I've seen you do it.
Not anymore then.
Hmm.
Yes.
Anyways,
Thank you for joining us on this journey of rediscovering the beauty and the power of homemaking
and all that chaos too.
and all that
The
chaos.
beautiful chaos.
The beautiful
I like
chaos.
that part.